Before we begin, allow me to warn you that this video will contain spoilers on the anime Death Note, so if you have not yet seen the show, I highly recommend that you go and watch the anime prior to continuing this video if you do not want to ruin the experience of a blind watch through. With that being said, welcome to Anime Theory, the series where I forced myself to rewatch an entire 37 episode anime in the past 48 hours to answer the one question that nobody asked: did Nier cheat in his final showdown with Light? So, to catch the people who did decide to watch this theory without first watching Death Note, the protagonist of this anime is named Light Yagami, and one afternoon, as he's leaving school, he finds a notebook titled The Death Note on the ground that allows him to kill anybody he knows the name and face of just by writing their name down in the notebook. Light's eventual goal is to kill all criminals in an attempt to create a pure world devoid of all forms of crime. He does this under the name Akira, and the show follows him as he tries to accomplish these goals and become god of the human world. Aside from Light, some other notable characters in this anime include Misa Amane, who for simplicity is just Light's girlfriend, Elle and Nier, who are detectives trying to uncover Kira's true identity and basically Light's rivals throughout different parts of the story, as well as Taro Mikami, who is one of Light's replacement Kiras and is used to try and throw Elle and Nier off of Light's trail. Now, when watching Death Note, did you ever stop and wonder, how was Nier able to outsmart Light and corner him into revealing his true identity as Kira, when this was a task that even the genius super detective Elle was unable to accomplish? Well, if you have, stick around, because throughout this video, we will be uncovering the truth behind the ending of Death Note. This theory begins as the climax of the series, where Nier and Light have one final showdown and a battle of intelligence to determine which of the two is better able to counteract the other's plan. This battle takes place in an abandoned warehouse, and both parties make their way to the meeting, thinking that they have the upper hand. However, in the end, Nier is proven the victor, and in doing so, he reveals Light's true identity as Kira, which leads to his eventual death and the end of the animated series. Nier explains that he simply saw through Light's plan to use a fake notebook, which was given to Taro Mikami, who, as I previously mentioned, is one of Light's replacement Kiras. However, what if Nier never actually outsmarted Light in the way that he explained, and there was actually much more being manipulated behind the scenes? Basically, what I'm thinking is Nier actually used the Death Note directly to completely destroy all chances that Light had at winning. That being said, this is not a completely original theory, and this topic has already been discussed by some others. However, the theory is just way too interesting for me not to give my own take on, since I found some new pieces of evidence that support this theory that I have not seen mentioned anywhere else. Alright, with all the introductory out of the way, let's get right onto the theory. Now, during the time just before Light replaces the Death Note with the fake one, Nier has one of his detectives investigate Mikami. As shown throughout the show, Mikami has a tendency to develop almost ritualistic habits, and forces himself to stick to an exact schedule in a very organized life. Nier was able to use this information to figure out when exactly Mikami would be in the gym, and the best opportunity to search through his belongings and try to find the Death Note. By doing so, the detectives were able to figure out that yes, Mikami was in possession of the Death Note, in addition to the exact number of pages he writes in the notebook every day. It is later explained during Nier and Light's final showdown that since Mikami wrote exactly one full page of names in the Death Note every night, they were able to calculate the exact number of pages he would use in the days leading up to the meeting, and replace all the remaining pages with fakes. And according to Nier, this is how he was ultimately able to outsmart Light. However, if you actually stop and consider this situation, Nier had a lot of time with the notebook before their final showdown, and they were checking up on Mikami in the notebook extremely often in order to confirm Mikami's patterns. Because of this, it's not completely out of the realm of possibility that they could have actually used the Death Note in the time prior to the final showdown. Now, you may be wondering, so what if Nier did actually use the Death Note? What effects would it have on the outcome of the series? Well, it actually changed a lot. Let's first consider the events that took place prior to Light being caught. During the meeting, Mikami, thinking he had the entire task force cornered, began writing everyone's name who was present down in the Death Note and only excluding Light's. However, since Nier already switched out the pages of the Death Note with fakes, nothing actually happened. And because of this, Mikami not writing down Light's name in the notebook proved to be circumstantial evidence revealing Light's true identity, since there would be no logical reason to omit his name unless he was the true Kira. After he realizes what he's just done, and both Light and Mikami get captured, Mikami literally kills himself in the most dramatic way possible. And yes, you could argue that he does this due to the immense guilt that he feels for his carelessness leading to his supposed god getting captured. However, why would he choose to do it at this moment, and in this way? During my first watch through this series, this scene always felt just a bit odd and out of place, even if his death was meant to be used as a distraction and a last-ditch attempt to help Light escape. All of this information makes Mikami's death feel just a bit too coincidental. And if you ask me, his actions would actually be a lot easier to explain if he was indeed being controlled by the Death Note. Keep in mind that one of the rules of the Death Note is that if any cause is written within the next 40 seconds of writing the person's name, then it'll happen. And after writing the cause of death, details should be written within the next 6 minutes and 40 seconds. This means that it's definitely possible that Nier could have written out his entire plan in the Death Note and controlled Mikami's every actions during the final showdown. With that being said, the way in which Mikami was murdered and Nier having possession of the Death Note by the end of the series are not the only pieces of evidence to support this theory. So, let's take a step back and examine Nier's character for a moment. From the first time that Nier was revealed, it was explained that he lacks any serious emotion. This is shown throughout the series, since there is not a single moment in the anime where he ever shows even the slightest bit of emotion. Whether it be fear, happiness, sadness, or any other emotion, he has always been presented as being simply emotionless. Because of this, if he's lacking all emotions including regret, then what's stopping him from using the Death Note? Since he would feel no remorse if he were to have killed the wrong person or falsely accused Light of being Kira. He would have simply moved on and explained it away as being a necessary step in finding Kira's true identity. If you actually stop and think about it, from Nier's perspective, it was actually a perfect plan, since using the Death Note would result in a scenario where it would be close to a 100% chance of defeating Kira, so long as Light Yagami ended up being the correct suspect. This is due to the fact that from the moment he wrote in the notebook, he would be able to control Mikami's every move. By doing so, he could ensure that Mikami would carelessly write down the entire task force name down in the Death Note, only excluding Light's. This would mean that whenever Light's name wasn't written in the notebook, it would not be proved as evidence, but instead just speculation from Nier in hopes that Light would reveal his true identity as Kira. However, from Light's perspective, it would almost be impossible to figure out that Nier actually was using the Death Note this whole time to manipulate Mikami, since he wasn't even able to predict the plan that Nier did explain in the anime. This is actually a common tactic used by real-world police officers when trying to force out a confession from a suspect. For example, if you get pulled over for speeding, a cop will ask you, "Do you know how fast you were going?" in an attempt to try and corner you into confessing your own guilt. This fact helps validate this theory, since Nier never directly confirms Light to be Kira, and made sure only to mention the plan that he wanted Light to believe, and waited for Light to feel cornered and admit to being Kira himself. Now, for those of you who may ask, is there a reason why Nier wouldn't admit to using the Death Note in the anime? Well, I would argue there is. Nier understood that the only way he could take over at L's spot as the #1 detective was to solve the one case that he was unable to solve prior to his death. And since Nier possesses no real emotions, he was willing to do so by any means necessary. However, he's still smart enough to realize that if the media found out about his true plan, then he would no longer be seen as the greatest detective, since he essentially needed to cheat in order to beat Light. On top of that, there would probably be large legal ramifications that would come with using the Death Note. And by hiding his true plan, he gets to appear as if he outsmarted Light, while also having a guaranteed victory over Kira. Considering the amount of time Nier had access to the notebook, Mikami's unusual death, Nier's complete lack of remorse, and the guaranteed success he gets from using it, there's almost no logical reason for Nier not to use the Death Note. So, in the end, Light's efforts to try and beat Nier were completely meaningless. And since Nier likely used the notebook to beat him, there was virtually no way that Light could have altered the outcome. With all that being said, this is simply my own personal theory, and whether you believe it or not is up to you. But I hope I presented my points well, and I hope that you enjoyed the video overall. If you did, consider liking the video and subscribing to my channel, as I'll be posting new theories every week. And if you have any specific anime or theories that you want me to cover in a future video, let me know in the comments below. But until next time, signing out. Yo, real quickly before we wrap up this video, just briefly wanted to take some time to first of all thank everybody who has made it to the end of the video. It really does mean a lot. In addition to that, I really wanted to thank everybody who may have potentially came from my TikTok channel. If you're unaware, I also post TikTok content under the same name, Otaku Haven. Over there, we focus more so on anime recommendations as opposed to the anime theory content that we're kind of trying to post over here on YouTube. But nonetheless, just really wanted to thank everybody who has shown this support on my TikTok page over the past couple of months. It's crazy to think that I only started posting content just about 5 months ago now, and I've already gained over 300,000 followers. It's just nothing I would have really ever imagined coming into this. I never really had any goals in mind, just kind of started posting content on a whim, and for you guys to really show the support, it really does mean a lot. But I hope you guys can continue to show some of that same support over here on YouTube. If you guys are enjoying the content and it does look like something that you guys could potentially enjoy in future videos and stuff like that, consider subscribing, obviously. And in addition to that, if you guys want any specific animes or theories covered in the future, let me know in the comments and I will try my best to maybe incorporate some of them in some of my upcoming videos. But until next time, peace out.